page Taf Nun. This starts out with a Hakdama. So the Hakdama says, Ka'ayin Loshan a Maimer Shalavaneno, so similar to this Maimer here, Nimsel La'el, we already saw this. Patikun Erik Anpen, where we talked about Erik Anpen. The La'el Patikun Zer Anpen, also we talked about it there too. He says, Be'ira Rizal, B'Shem Mamari Rashbi, he explains, he said, Ki Sibas Kefelus Amamarim, why do we have double, we have this repeated, who lefi sheyeshnam gimel mini malachim shenisaknu b'shas brias olamos. So it's not just one, there's different types of, or sets of malachim. So we said, we talked about the 7 malachim of Zer Anpen, Erik Anpen. And then also we talked about Zer Anpen. Because also the Nukva was also had as a whole parts of, and her Zat also broke. Behind ki inyan hashvira v'chatikun koyi b'kol parts of it was in every single parts of. B'shev spheres tachtona shebechem, in the 7 lower spheres of every single one of those big parts of him. Shehem hasheva malachim, they are the 7 malachim. So he said, "V'rei la'el." He says, "B'hakdama l'mayber ha'betikun ha'malachim." Derek Anpen, where we talked about that, Shatakno as lashon harizal. Over there, we had the lashon of the Ri. Let's start the Zohar. And the Zohar says, Tana, we learn like this: Ad lo zamin tikuni de malkum ki ad she'adam kadmon lo hizmin v'heichin as tikuni amelach. So the tikkun for the king, so he says, I guess for the king, let's see, shuhu or shel ma. So he doesn't say, when he says what the king, I guess he refers to malchus. So he says, v'heichin tikkun hamelach, shuhu or shem ma. So the tikkun is the name ma. Hamasakein as sheva hamalachim shal denukva the shenishbru, and they are the ones, that is those malchim that come from this ma chadash, comes and it's mesaken the zat of malchus. Atika de tikim, and then he says the tika de oz adam kadmon. So adam kadmon, he wants to say, is called tika de tikim. Shu zakein hazakenim kolomer, he's the oldest of original parts of. Shu zakein bekoden yoser mi partsufi atik yamim, and it's before that, also in there before Erik Anpen. Hanikroim gam came a tikkun, which that a label is applied to them as well. And the tikkun was the same, means the zakanim. Bana almim, bana olamos shuhu olam anekudim. So the Adam Kadmon, he built the olam anekudim. Shahoya kolo mesheva olamos, which had within it 7 olamos, shehem sheva malachim, which are the 7 malachim. V'hu sod shem ben shahotzi Adam Kadmon. So this is the concept of the name Ben. This is the last name that came out of Adam Kadmon. Va'askin tekunin. Va'yedei shem Ben. I'm sorry, what? I'm in the shir now.
Anything different. Same thing.
Yeah, they want your business, right? Va'yedei shem Ben hiskim Adam Kadmon tekuni rabalochem de nukva. So through this name Ben, of Ayadei Shem Ben Hiskin Adam Kadmon Tikuni Hamalachim the Nukva. So that's with the beginning, I guess, of the tikkun for the Malachim of the Menuka. Shehem Knesses Ha'oras the Socha Kalim, which is the concept of bringing the lights back into the Kalim B'Makom Tibor Adam Kadmon the Lamata, from the place of the Tibor Lamata in the lower section. V'Askaima Iskaima. So that now they're built in such a way that they can handle the light. But the malchus is not misbosem. What does that mean? Because those Eidah HaMalachim, the nukva, the malachim, were looking at the zat of the nukva, that the chasadim had not reached it. Ki hoya besod shem ben. And why is it? Because it's sealed up. I guess it means it's just very, very tough. It has gevurus and dinim in it. That's what the zat is all about. Below iskaimo, v'lakach non iskaimo, and as a result of that, it wasn't able to maintain itself. El hakelim shalom malachim nishbaru b'meis, but rather, now we're focusing on the zat of malchus, is that the kalim of the malachim, they broke, and they died. So Mises Sheva Malachim, and that is the secret of the 7 Malachim, although he says it's in all the Partsufim, Kamosh Yovel Lahalon, and we're going to get into that more. Ad Denachis Chesed law. So this continued until an upper Chesed came down. So we talked about the Chesed Elyon. Ad Sheyared Bechinas Tipas HaChesed Elyon, until this drop. It's a condensed drop of Chesed that comes from up above the Yisod Adam Kadmon, and it comes. This chesed is from the Yisod of Adam Kadmon. Now, I thought it came from the forehead of Adam Kadmon. I don't know exactly what's going on, so I could be wrong. So he says, Elyon b'Yisod Adam Kadmon. It comes out of the Yisod of Adam Kadmon. Shuham Melech Hashmini Nikra Hadar, who's the 8th Adam Kadmon. Another word for him is the 8th king, which is a name called Hadar. Sod Shem Ma HaChodesh. He is the secret, this Melech. He brings along the Ma HaChodesh. This Kaimel V'Oz, Kaimel Ela Malachim, and this has the effect of sustaining or bringing to life or keeping them alive, the Malachim. This Basamo Tukuni Nukva. And as a result of that, this Ma HaChodesh, V'Nisbasach V'Nim Tikuni HaNukva, Shehem HaMalachim, the Nukva, which are the 7 Malachim of the Nukva. B'chai Ama de Ikre Chesed Al Yedei Zeha Yisod, and how has it come about? It comes out through the Yisod Shel Adam Kadmon, Shehu Sod Shem Ma, and he is the that is this what's coming out. It's this Shem Ma Sakein Umavasem as a Gevuras Vadinim Shel Shem Ben the Malach and the Nukva. So the translation is that it perfumes, it sweetens up the Gevuras and the Dinim that are in of the Shem men, which represents the Malachim of the Nukva. Besod Zivug Yisod Umalchus, which is a secret, that the secret of the Yichud between Yisod of Zeranpin and Malchus, so he said Yisod Umalchus, of Adam Kadmon. That is, there is a Yichud that takes place in the Yisod of Malchus and Adam Kadmon. And I guess he wants to say that this Machadash comes out from there. V'hu Kedera calls Zivug Dachar V'Nok, and it's the same kind of Yichud that the Zachar is inside of the Nukva, and they reproduce. Shagavuras HaNukva Mismapkos Misbasmim Ayedera B'Tipus HaChasadim Shaladachurika Amor, because these broken pieces, the Gevuras and the Nukva, can be sweetened by these Chasadim that we find in the male. So it's the same process as we see other places. He said, So that when we say that these are malachim, they're all full of dinim and gevuros. This is the meaning. He said, in regards to how they were controlled. So how they were in control. And then it says, the pasuk says, these are the malachim that ruled in Eretz Edom. Also, the called dinim mishnatchim tama. And what is Eretz Edom? That's the place where all the dinim are found. V'amalakasa be'Eretz Edom, pirusha b'makam shakal hadinim nimsoim sham, a place where all the dinim are found. Kolomberki eluch malachim shehem bebechinas dinim, which are actually concept dinim. Shorsh mitziyosef v'chalidasim hu bebina shebenukva. Now let's go back over here. Where did the zat come from? Just like every other zat, they come as a result of the action of bina entering into the zat. So he said, "V'lodasim hu bebina shebenukva shehi eretz Edom." So he says the name of the nukva of bina is also called Eretz Edom. Edom means red, the land where the redness comes from, which is dinim. Ki l'chein nikras bina eretz, so that should be called Eretz Edom. Al shem odim hadinim, because the redness of the dinim hamisorder them v'yotze b'mena, that are aroused and come out from bina. V'inin tikuni did itisa v'elu hagavuros v'chadinim shal malachim heim iker tikuni hanukva. So he says what he says focusing on the dinim and the Gevuras and of these Malachim is really where the tikkun of the Nukva takes place. He called Binya the Nukva, who Gevuros, because the way that she's built, all of her built or construction is made out of Gevuros. Medayik Belosha the Pasuk, and then it becomes very particular about the language of the Pasuk. He said, B'ki Eiluch HaMalachim Asher Koyu Be'eretz Edom. These are the kings that were in the land of the red, of Edom. Lokasiv Ella Asher Malchu. But Lokasiv, he says, that's not what it's written. He says, it doesn't write Asher Koyu Be'eretz Edom. Lokasiv Ella Asher Malchu. But rather, instead, not that they were there, but actually they were in control there. They were kings. Shalo Amar Asher Hoyu, not like they were. The Mashper Shehoya Malachim Asher Niskaimel Malchusim, that they were kings and then they were able to be there and they had a nice Malchus. Ella Amar Asher Malchu Lahorus. So it's to show you this word Malchus, Malchu used here, is to show Asher Malchu L'Shatim, below Nimshko Malchusim. So in other words, they had a kingdom, they lost it. The Amar Od, and we said furthermore, below is Basamo ad Isak and Kula. Below Nisbasbom and Nismatko, Eluch Malachim. So these are the Malachim that are full of these dinim, and they ultimately broke. So they can't be sweetened, they can't be perfumed. Eluch Malachim shall nukva de zer anpen, Ela la'achash nisaknim kol Malachim shall partzufi zer anpen, v'shar partzufi b'kodmen de nukva. So first of all, before you get to this is like the ultimate tikkun of the Malachim, and it seems like it's a situation, if you looked at it sideways, if you looked at it in Ovi, then you would see that these different partsufim are all related, but coming from the center, or from the most penimistic part to Eric Anpin, etc., and all of that, you're going further and further away until you get to the outside where his Malchus is located, and there's a tikkun affected there. Benafik Chai Chesed, then when all of the others are Mesukin, other partsufim up above, then comes out this chesed. But whatever happened in the previous parsufim doesn't affect the malachim of olam of the malchus. Until this tipa that we're talking about of the chasadim, shehu sod shem ma hachadash, which is a secret of the new ma. Ka'amar la'el, if it is yashe b'puma da'ama, and then it finds a place to reside at the tip of the male organ, which is the yesod of the zat of the nukva. V'chatipa yatzas, and then the tipa comes out. V'nim shechas min the yesod, it comes out from the yesod min this yashvera b'piha yesod, and it sets up at the mouth of the yesod. Shuhu ataras yesod, which is the tip of the yesod. So it's all the way down at the end. V'hu sod yichud ha-yesod im ataras yesod. Now this is a secret right here of the fact that you have two separate elements of the yesod. You have yesod and ataras yesod, and he said v'hu sod yichud ha-yesod im ataras yesod. So therefore, you're getting the concept here that one is male, one female. So the Yatara is the female part, what it sounds like. So then what happens there is these malachim become sweetened. Shehem besod shehem ben. They're the malachim themselves are, I guess, are the kalim, and the malachim themselves are broken. So then when this happens, in this basma v'nimtiku eilach malachim shehem besod shehem ben im bechasadim shehem besod shehem hachadash, which he says as we said, Gamor. V'choizu d'chavim raya min the pasuk el mash amalael. So now wants to bring a raya on this idea. She'eda malachim notice in his kaimo that the malachim originally going back, they weren't able to live. This is the meaning. V'zech shekasa be'inyan the malachim shall nukva dezer anpen. So we're talking here nukva dezer anpen. That's malchus. V'yamas Bela. So Bela was the first king. He died. V'yamas Yovav, and then the second king. I don't know if it's first king, second, the third king. Yovad. V'chein Kosev, and then it says all about Hemshek Pesukim, all the rest of the Pesukim as they're going on, Sham, Bishar HaMalachim, in regards to all of it, the Nimsa Shenisker Misa B'Kol HaMalachim. So you find that the word death is replied to each one of those Malachim. So we start to Bela and Yovav and so on and so forth. They all died. They'll in this Kaimu. But we don't want to say, you see, the word is lo is kaimu. They weren't able to continue on. But it doesn't say that they actually physically died. Ela shalom is kaimu malchus, and they were not able to maintain their control of their kingdoms. Ki ha-kalim nishbru, because what happens is, as the kalim broke, The yard in the Mata Ba'olam Abriya, and they fell down into the lower worlds, the outside worlds, which are Bria. V'ha'oros nisharu b'metzilus. That's what happened to the Kalim. The Kalim fell out of Kedusha, and they wound up, the only thing that was left were the Oros, but the Oros were in Etzilus, and the Kalim were in Bria. V'tam Davarhu, what's the reason? V'lo is basamahu bedina bedina. Ki elach hamalachim non is basmahu b'nimtugu, they were not sweetened, they were not perfumed. Ayedecha b'chesed, they weren't, the chesed didn't work for them. Ki av shehem atzman koya kolula b'daka v'nuk, because even though we understand, let's go a little slower here, that even though the malachim themselves were male and female, shehem b'bechinas ma'u ben de ben. Now let's just look at that. It's the ben aspect. I've gotten better at these long names. You have to start from the left, and it starts on the word ben. There's the ben of ben and the ma of ben. That's really what it is. They're different male, female bens. Im kalzeh hare kulam hoya gavuros v'dinim. But even though they were male and female, because we normally say that the male aspect is chesed, even though they're male and female, but they're male and females of gavuros v'dinim. Mibechidas shem ben, and they come from the concept of the name ben. Ve'ein din nimtak al yedei din, and you don't see din sweetened al yedei din. So since they're both their male and female din, even so, din can't sweeten din. Ve'i temes, so if you want to say like this, ve'im tomar im hachi de dinikuho ki im hu kumo shamarna. So if it's like we're saying here, shekol hasheva melachim koy bebechidas dinim, yesh l'shol kach. There's a question you could ask on this. So it's written like this, b'melech hashishi. Let's say, for example, let's take the sixth, melech. V'yimloch tachtov Shaul merachovas hanahar. So this person called Shaul, he lived in a place called Rechovas hanahar. Isn't that the name of our store? So it's coming right straight out of the Rishash. So he said, v'yimloch tachtov Shaul merachovas hanahar. So he came from that broad place of the river. V'halo is Chazeh dinah. Below nirish yiha dinah b'melech zeh. There shouldn't be any dinim there, because it's describing the place he comes from. Ki harei amar shehu merachovas hanahar. He's in the broad place of the river. V'rechovas hanahar eida b'bechinas dinim. So that broad place, I guess, is the pour that's coming out of Bina. Let's say, for example, I'm just not sure yet. Hanahar eida b'bechinas dinim. The name that we learn like this, Rechovas hanahar ihu Bina. Oh, there it is. So the Rechovas hanahar is Bina. Rechovas hanahar hu Bina. Shehi bechinas rachamim, which is a concept of rachamim. So she's part of the Rosh. V'chatam shenikras b'shem Rechovas hanahar hu. So the sixth melech, he died, or he lost his kingdom, whatever word we want to say. So why should he? Because he's part of Bina. The minan mispatchim chamshim tirim dinuchar butzinin. The fi shemin ataras hayisod shall bina. Now he comes more specific here, and he says from this particular aspect of bina, which is the very tip of where everything comes out, which that ataras hayisod of bina actually is lodged in the chaz of zer anpin, or of the zat, if whatever parts of we're talking about, or the zer anpin of the whatever parts of we're talking about. He says the fi shemin ataras hayisod shall bina. Niftachim mizrachavim chamishim shari bina. That's why bina is called Rechovas hanahar, because that's where it opens up and it broadens out the 50 different gates of bina. Shehem chamishim sharim shal chasadim, which are the 50 gates of chasadim, and nikroim oros, which are called lights. The chamishim sharim shal gavuros, and then also the 50 sharim of gavuros, and nikroim neros, which are called lamps. Let me just see that again, because he's coining phrases, Shem. So he says the 50 sharim of Bina are composed of 50 sharim of chasadim, which are called lights. V'chamishim sharim gavuros, which are called neros. The fish yesh b'yisod shall Bina chamisha chasadim v'chamisha gavuros, because they have. Let's understand this. This place of the Ataras Yisod of Bina has within it 5 chasadim, 5 gavuros. Shkol echad mehem kolom asara, and each one of them has 10. So we see that at the Taras Yisod are these openings that are going to allow the gavuros to come out. Harechamishim chasadim v'chamishim gevor. So that gives you 50, the number 50. L'shis sitri alma. So these 50, ve'elu hachamishim sha'arim, which we understand are some male, some are female, or some are what he calls neros, some are called oros. He said, mishpatim l'shisha kitzvah sa'olim. They spread out into the 6 corners of the world. What are the 6 corners of the world? Shehem sod shisha kitzvos chesed gevor tiferes netzachod yisod. So he says that that's what happens, is that this is the mayim that builds up at least Zer Anpin, and also the Nukva is Zer Anpin, Yesod shall Zer Anpin, Hanikra Olam. V'zehu Pirush Lashon Rechovos HaNahar. So now this is the explanation of the phrase Rechovos HaNahar. Sheshefach HaChasadim, that the shefa that comes from the Chasadim and the Gevuros shall Yesod, from this Yesod, the Taras Yesod, we're talking about a Nikra Nahar, which is called a river, Misrachavim, because it broadens out, it spreads out, and mispashtim, and spreads. So since it says this person Shoal, so it doesn't really explain what we want to say about Shoal, but that name itself, but that's his name, from this place, which is the broad place in the river, which he's talking about now, the Ataras Yisod, I guess, where the Chasadim Gevuros come out, the Hanish Shorish HaMelech Shaul, who min Bina. So the root of the king called Shaul is actually coming from Bina HaNikras Rechovos HaNahar. Hare Memela Shachamelech Shaul, who gam came bechinas Rachamim Kedumas Bina. So just so we said that Bina has the 50 gates, so she has Oros and she has Neros, which are, I guess we'd say positive and negative parts. Even though she's similar, this Malach is similar to Kedumas Bina. So come out that all of the Malachim over there that are coming out of this 6th one, which is coming from Bina, etc., it says that it doesn't, all of them do not have all of the 7 there do not have Bechinas of Din. We learn like this, Kuhul Din, but that's not true. All of them are Dinim. Shebe'emes kol hamalachim heba bechinas dinim. All the malachim of the concept of dinim, but v'filach hamelech hashishi, even this 6th one Shaul, who gam came bechinas dinim. Lo shekulim heba bechinas shem ben. It doesn't mean to say that they're all the aspects of just ben. Shuhu bechinas gevuras the dinim. So I guess he means ben the ben. Shuhu bechinas gevuras the dinim. So then all of them are some aspect of din no matter what. And so therefore they weren't able to sustain themselves and they died. And they broke and they died. Even Shaul. Bar Mechad V'diskaima Basra. Now, it was a little bit vague why, but I think he was wanted to say that he's under the category, he's the Ma de Ben. So it's a Ben no matter what you do with it, and it broke. So he says over here, though, there's one, Chaim this kind of Bas Basra. At the very last one, though, that one sustains itself. Chutz Melech Echad, there's one king. Shuhu bebechinas Chesed bebechinas Shem Ma'chodash. These is Chesed Elyon, who come from this name Ma'chodash. Veinu bechinas Din, and it's not the concept of Din. So that's Din altogether. It's not Din. And that's the reason why it was able to sustain itself. It didn't break. This is the 8th king. Hanikra Hadar Shayatza Akron Mikal Hamalachim, who is called Hadar, which went out last, Mikal Hamalachim. Vahai Shaul Merachovos HaNahar, this one, the one we were talking about, number 6. The Masha Amba Bemelech Hashishi Shaul Shorshu Berechovos HaNahar, that its root really is in Bina. Shuhu his Rachavos Chamishim Shari Bina, which is the broadening out of the 15 Shari Bina Shehem Rachamim. Donku Chad Sitra is Pashet V'Nafek Merachovos HaNahar. The Kavanah, what it wants to say is this Shorsho, that is the shores of this 6th Melech, Min Shar Echad, it comes from one Shar, one gate, Shal Rachamim, that is part of Bina, Shenis Pashet V'Yatzim Merachovos HaNahar, and it spreads out from that place, bringing the Chasadim and the Gevuros into Zer Anpin from the Taras Yisod of Ima, and it says Acher Shal Rachamim. So he's in the Pashet V'Yatzim Merachovos HaNahar. There is one gate there for Rachmanis. Shuhu his rachavos mishim shari bina, which is the concept of the broadening out of this 50 sharim. But we're not talking about the roots of these 50 shari bina. Gam came bebechinas rachmim, because then you would see shul as one of the bechinas of rachmim. Aval ata gam shul hu bebechinas din. But what's coming out now is that shul, even the 6th melech, is bechina of din. V'kuhul on this kaimu. V'lechem nimsa shekal hasheva malachim uvaklalim. So we see that all of the sheva malachim, and in general, gam ha-melech hashishi, and including also the melech hashishi, shul, no niskaimba b'nishbro, they weren't able to maintain themselves, and they broke. Shekulam choye bebechinas dinim, because they were all different aspects of dinim, as we said. So moving on, he said, Mavaraki Masha Marti. So what I said like this, when I said that they weren't able to maintain their kingdoms, that's really what it is. Lo tema is batalo. Don't say that they're gone. Lo tomar dahainu kepshuta. Don't say that this idea is that they disappeared. Sheniz batal kalim shalamalach and the ganri, that their kalim are they're gone. They're completely worthless. They can't be used. Shahari be'emes non is batal kalim the ganri, because the truth is they didn't completely die. Rak chazra v'nisaknu ba'olam matikun, but rather they come back and they're rebuilt for their purpose of channeling and receiving light in the olam matikun. Lo is kaimu b'haku malhu the bistar nokva. Ella masha marti. But let's look at this. What I said. Lo is kaimu. When the Zohar says that they weren't able to maintain themselves, their kingdoms they were not able to maintain. So in other words, that if the kingdom is only from the side of the female, then they're not going to be able to maintain themselves. Ben, which is Ben. Ben is the female name. That refers to Malchus. Below Hadachura, it's not the male aspect, which would be the Ma. It's the blending of the two that you need. So in other words, I guess the focus is, and I could have heard a little bit more about the 6th tikkun. It's really on the 6th tikkun, because there's something about it that indicates that it's Rachamim. So, but anyway, what you have there, no matter what, it's the Ma de Ben. It's a Ben, no matter what, which makes it subject to dinim. Below Chadachura Shahu Bebechin Shem Ma, Belakach, so therefore, Lo Niskaimu Oz Maluchas Haoros, no Niskaimu Oz Maluchas, Haoros Besocha Kalim. We weren't able to control let's say the word Malucha here means the control, or the, what does the king do? So he said the control of the Kalim, Eloha Kalim Nishbro, but the Kalim, they lost control of their Kalim. The Kalim broke the Fisha at that moment. And the Oros never wound up going into them or staying into them, and they wound up going out, staying in the Tzilus. Now this is very important, actually, in the Otros Chaim. It's really not developed a tremendous amount, and it's not here either. Is that this is actually the beginning of Olam Atzilus, because before that everything was together. This is my opinion. Everything was together at Olam Nekudim. They were all functioning well, whatever you want to say about them. But now you find out that there's a difference between Olam Bria and Olam Atzilus. So because of the fact that the light split from the Kalim in Bria, they're no longer in Atzilus. The entire ad shehi his orurus Shahoya, excuse me. Ad Shahoya his order the besod ha'alas mayim nukvin. So what does it take in order for this to work? It takes the arousal of mayim nukvin, of the plea from the bottom of the is pashat high basra makuho v'oz. So then when the mayim nukvin comes, oz nis pashat v'yatzach hamelech ha'achron, then that's what causes the final melech to come out. Mikol shar malachim. So number eight melech. Shuha melech hashmini nikra hadar. So that's the 8th melech, who's called Hadar. Shuhu sod shem maha chadash, which is the secret of this name, this new ma. And what happens now is that they are rebuilt, these kalim of these malachim from scratch. Parshas HaMalachim. So in the parsha dealing with the malachim, it says over there, V'yimloch tachtav Hadar. So Hadar, he came and he ruled in their place. V'nimloch. So, Ovamelech Hazeh low cost of Misa doesn't ever write the word Misa by him. V'vor my Hadar. So what does it mean, Hadar? What does Hadar mean? Malchu so the Melech Hanikra Hadar. So Hadar could mean a lot of things. It means it could mean control or coming back, or it could mean his glory, like hitter. So what does it mean? V'Amar Chesed Ilah. So here we're talking about this Hadar is the upper Chesed. Shuhu b'Bechinas Tipas HaChesed the Elyon. B'Yesod Adam Kadmon. So this is the concept now. Once again, he said there was a yichud takes place between the, I guess he said, between the Yesod and the Taras Yesod in Adam Kadmon. B'Yesod Adam Kadmon Hanikra Hadar. So he says, what is called Hadar? Let me one more time. Shu b'Bechinas Tipas HaChesed the Elyon B'Yesod Adam Avcha Hanikra Hadar. So either the Yesod is called Hadar, but I think he means the Tipa is called Hadar. V'hu sod shem mahachadash. Yes, it's a mahachadash. She'al yado chazro v'nesaknu b'kelim shalom alachem v'chadash. But through them, this is what rebuilds and causes to function the way that it needs to. These malachim again from new state. V'lo v'choyu b'chem misa v'shvira, and they didn't die. They didn't break. Can we go on a little bit more? Can I get that extra 5 here?
No.
Was that a yes or a no? Oh, okay, good. Thank you. So he said, "V'amar od behemshech pasuk sham." So now it goes on as we continue on this pasuk. V'shem iro po. Now there's an interesting name. I just looked it up. It is the number 156. Is that right? 8 and 7 is 15, right? And 6. So it's a number 156, which does not ring a bell. V'shoil my po. So what's pshat here? Where do you get this word from? My pirish po. When we start talking about the name of his city, he really wants to talk about where he comes from, his roots. And since he comes from that place which is called the Yesod of Adam Kadmon, Kamor, Im came po, so therefore that word po, Romez the Yesod, the Adam Kadmon. It's really a reference to the Yesod of Adam Kadmon. He comes from this place called po. V'lezecha b'yesh l'shul manu anikra so the Adam Kadmon b'shem the Yesod of Adam Kadmon. Why should it be called po? What's that mean? Meshi b'hai pa'i. B'hai pa'i. So we have. Let me see. My light's not so good here. Pa'i. So, B'chai Pa'i Bar Nash, the Zachi, the Rucha, the Gedusha. So, what's this Pa'i? Ki Po, that word Po, Hu Maloshan Dibur. It talks about speaking. Okay. V'hainu Sh'al Yedecha Yesod Adam Kadmon. So that he says like this, from the Yesod of Adam Kadmon, Poa Pua, that is, it Medaber Adam HaZoche L'Ruach HaKodesh. Now, this is like opening up another can. So again, he says the word poa refers to the word, or pui, or what does he say? Pa'u. So he says that this idea refers to the concept of speaking. Now what's speaking? Bedaber Adam azocha the Ruach HaKodesh. And it is the speak of a person who is zocha the Ruach HaKodesh. Ki Ruach HaKodesh nimshach min sod shema, because where does the Ruach HaKodesh come from? It comes from the same ma shal yisod, the elyon from the yisod, God, of Adam Kadmon. V'kol Adam shatikin nishmasa b'sod the kibbur of b'mahu ben. So anyone who is able to get to such a state where he can bring about the ma chodash and mating with the ben, zecher misham l'ruach hakodesh. How about them apples? So a couple more. V'amar od b'hem shecha pasuk sham. So a little bit more as the pasuk continues on. Ishto mehitabel. You worked on that pronunciation, mehitabel. So what's going on with this word mitabel? And it says over here, Ki kan b'kiber ha'melech Hadar. So here we see that when the king, who's called Hadar im Ishto Mehitabel, and he makes a yichud there, he says, is besamo do b'do, they sweeten each other. Now, I don't know why the Machadash needs sweetening, but that's what he said. He says they sweeten each other. So he says, he means to say that the chesed part sweetens up the gevura part. And how does this happen? For the tipas chesed elyon who sowed shem ma hachadash. Ki melech hadar who sowed shem ma, because hadar is the name ma. What about mitabel? So, who say sowed hakelim shal sheva malachim? She is the wife that is referring to the broken kalim shal shem ben. Shenisbaru v'olhu ata mishvirazim v'mitzasim v'iskri ishto. So now they're come up. They're now called. They're a match for the. As a result, they were broken, but now they're a match for this machadash. V'lechein nikra mehitabel. So that's why she's called by that name. Ishto, and then he said the mitabel is his wife shal melech hadar. She's like the keli that the ma comes into. So this is how they work. And now you make these seven malachim. Isha el shem ma. She's now like the wife of the name Ma. She is his female counterpart. In other words, she's the receptacle. The Maldadol Kasiv Bakuch, why it doesn't write in all of them. Maishadol cause of Cain B'Sheva Malach. So why don't we have that? Shalom Nizkar Ishto, none of them has the name Ishto associated with it. Echod min the Sheva Malachim, not either one, not any of them. He called the Sheva Malachim Choya Besod Shem Ben. They were just the Bens by themselves. Shulba Bechinas Nukva Levad, which is just female by itself with no male. Below Chibor Im Dechura, that's not joined together with the Dechura. Shuhu Sod Shem Ma, this Machadash, Velon is Basmo, Nimtuku Oz. Since they don't have a machadash, therefore they're never sweetened. Now this word mehetabel, so then they're called by this word. So is bas musa dor bedor, and we see that they're sweetened, they're becoming sweetened, they're perfumed one from the other. Ki shem zeh romas al bisam v'mituk shem ben im shem ma, because this name is a reference to the Shem Ben being sweetened and joining together with Ma. Because let's take the first two letters. They are the word Ma. Haim osios Ma. Aromebs Shem Ma hamatakes amasaken as a malachim. This is the Ma that rebuilds everything. The Hamesh osios that come after it, Chronos, which are the word Yitabel. Olam Kaminian Ben. So if you count them up, they come Ben. So you have a Ma Ben in that name, Metabel. Varom is the Shem Ben. Shuhu Sod Malachim Shalav and Isakno. This is the secret of those Malachim that went up, they were rebuilt. Ayedeh B'Shem Ma, who, in other words, they made an Aliyah back into Itzilus. Yedeh Shem Ma HaChadash. V'gam Losha Mehitabel Mora al Chelik hatov. It also gives you a concept of the portion of goodness, Shalom Malachim Sha'alov and his Barda the Rabbeinu Ra, that ultimately were drawn back into Atzilus, were refined out from the evil that was in it, and that is the shir today. And thank you for learning with me and giving me the time. Huh? Okay, I think he said thank you, or something.